In 2012, our next guest founded Two Brothers Memorial Fund. The nonprofit organization's mission is to provide financial aid to students, organizations, and worthy causes to help honor the memory of Matthew and Luke, two brothers who passed away at a young age. Sarah Ciofrone is also a guidance counselor, and she joins us now. Sarah, so nice to meet you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Sarah, what prompted you and your family, to start your organization and, and overcome your grief and use this as a way to stay resilient?
My first brother had passed away when he was just 16 in 2001. He was a junior at St. Anthony's. And it was the week before his prom. And we did not know anything, that he had any kind of issues, that he was suffering in any way. And he took his life. And my family was left upside down. And my younger brother at the time, so there were 6 of us altogether. My younger brother was 14, and he was obviously distraught, as all of us were. And really just left, with so many questions and really struggling with grief and guilt and shame and a lot of that. Our faith really helped us and helped my family a lot. But we wanted to do more. My dad was a principal. So he had spoke a lot about my brother's story and tried to go to schools and talk to kids about his story. But it wasn't until 10 years later when my younger brother, Luke, was in a car accident and he passed away. He was 24.
I'm so sorry.
And after that, really didn't think the tragedy could strike twice like that. And I didn't think I could do it again. I remember when my brother was in the hospital saying to my older brother, I can't do this again. Like, I can't lose another brother. I can't do it again. But again, my family really pulled together, and with our faith and so many friends and family supporting us, we're able to pull through. And so many people supported us that we really wanted to give back. And we felt like we wanted to give money and support kids and not have anybody be in that situation, for kids if they were struggling emotionally, mentally, that they had outlets. So my brother really is the one I can't, when you say I founded, I don't know so much that it was me. It was really my older brother. He's a big golfer. So, and all his friends. And so they said, well, what if we did this golf outing and we could raise money and we could give it to kids and organizations and things that the boys were involved in. So they were very involved in sports, and they were involved in school and their church community and things that, they really enjoyed. We thought, could we give back that way? So we started the Two Brothers Memorial Fund, and we started the golf outing, and people are just so generous. It's incredible. And so I think every year I'm blown away by how much we raise and how much we're able to give, scholarships and uniforms to basketball teams that my brother was on, or we had a speaker come to school. We've paid for speakers to come to. We had Brentwood High School. We've had it done at other schools, speaking about suicide and speaking about how to help kids. We've done stuff with like seatbelt awareness because my brother was not wearing a seatbelt. So, just trying to give back and feel like, because we just know the boys would have loved that they were very, sweet, loving, caring boys. They were boys. They were still involved in sports and, all sorts of stuff. But we feel like if we could affect a life, if somebody is struggling and our money was able to help them in some way, that is amazing to us.
Yeah. Well, first, Sarah, I want to say thank you for sharing your story, because, in honor of Matthew and Luke, your story, the story of your family, the story of coming together, it's incredible. And Matthew and Luke would be so proud. And just know the best advice that I think we got when we started PS Every Day was that, in a sense, we were meant to do this. And if our dad was still here, we would still be doing it. And so I think if Matthew and Luke were here too, you'd still be doing this because your family sounds like the kinds who just give back. And as a guidance counselor, you're talking to children, to students all the time about grief and dealing with grief. What do you think is your biggest piece of advice to someone currently experiencing grief? How do you find that resiliency within you?
So it's interesting because 2020, we suffered another two close losses to my family. And one was my daughter's friend who was 15, and I'm close with his mom. And that was just last June during quarantine. And she's grieving, like I watched my parents grieve, just incredible, immense grief of losing a child that way. And my cousin's husband, 36 years old on July 3rd. So, I mean, I feel like I'm counseling them all the time. And in the pandemic, my students have just faced tremendous depression over the last year. And so people,
so heavy.
It's really, really heavy. And so we're just trying to, for me, it's always been my faith that I've been able to, hold on to and know that I'll be with my brothers again. And so that was a really big piece for me and for my family. But when counseling people, I try to, for the people that are grieving that are on the other end, it's really about remembering them at their best and remembering them when they were at a good time and a good place in their life. That to me is really important. And I've come to really understand, and I feel like recently I've been able to understand it and maybe explain it a little better, that suicide, they died by suicide, and that suicide happened to them, because I feel that there's been such a stigma of take your own life, commit. The word commit has such a negative connotation to it. And so I've really, especially working with parents, really trying to get them to understand what mental illness, and that we don't see it. And oftentimes we don't see it. I mean, some kids are honest and tell us, or people are honest and tell us, and other times we don't even know that they're suffering. So I think in the immense grieving, learning that where they were at emotionally, even though we can't wrap our minds around that, is a big part of the grieving. And understanding that if they had a broken arm, like I tell my students and parents at school, when they come in and we had one the other day and the dad was like, he's fine. But like, no, he's not fine. He's telling us and he's not fine. He has a plan. And if you came in here and his arm was hanging, had a broken arm, you would take him right to the hospital.
You speak to students and make sure that they feel comfortable in seeking help. But for the students that are listening to this video, what is your best advice, to make them feel comfortable to seek advice and go to their guidance counselors when they're not feeling well, when they're not able to show how they're not feeling well, that it's all inside, and maybe their parents don't recognize it. How can they feel comfortable to come to you guys?
So now I feel like in this day and age, we're so accessible because of being virtual. So kids can email or message their teachers, their guidance counselors at any time. And I always tell my kids, teenagers don't tell their parents everything. So I get that. And that's fine. And that's why the counselors are there for you. So if you're uncomfortable telling your parents, you can always tell, the counselor first. I tell kids that it's normal to feel that way, and it's okay to feel that way, because there's a lot of kids that feel that way. It's just not okay to act on that. And that when you can't see the answer, or you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, that's what we're here for. We are here to show you that there is. I tell my own kids, I have my 3 kids, they're 9, 12, and 15. And I tell them, no matter what, we will get through anything. No matter what happens, there is a solution to every problem. You might not know it, and you may think there's not one, but go to your guidance counselor. To go to, you can go to any teacher. Oftentimes we have teachers that'll come to us. They'll say a kid wrote something that we think is a little, can you talk to them about it? So we just try and create like a safe space so that kids know that there's nothing wrong with them, that that is kind of normal. Depression and anxiety is off the charts right now. So we try to just be available to the kids at all times.
And I think by what you're doing and what PS Every Day does, and all the community and all the schools that we have involved, essentially starting the conversation is first, starting that conversation with your parents, with your family members, with you, with your huge family. Think of all the people that you're impacting, the generations to come, that you're really changing the way that we think about mental health.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think so. It's really, it's exciting to think that we really could be saving lives because, like I said, because my brother didn't tell anybody, here I was probably so close to him. I was 27 at the time. I was already a guidance counselor for a couple of years. He had me, he could have gone to me. He had plenty of people at his school, that suffering, on the inside. I think that when I see kids, a lot of times people write kids off and they're like, they're okay. Even parents, they're like, stop, you're fine. You'll get past this, or, a breakup at 16 years old is you'll meet somebody else. But really to those kids, it is the end of the world, and it could be. So, I take them very seriously. Sometimes maybe, a little too serious when the kids tell me, I'm like, what do you think? What's happening? Because I get right in because I feel like, listen, and I tell them, I'm honest with them. Most time I tell the kids, like, listen, I get it. I know this is real for you. I live it. I live on the other side of it.
Yes, you feel exactly their pain, and you feel the way that these students come to you and they, they're going through these hard times. And although, to the outside, it may seem like nothing, but to us, we need to be sure that we're empathetic and that we're understanding and we're there for each other. Maybe we can't relate exactly to the situation, but we all have our own story.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
And using that story to really inspire others is so important. When those students come to you, they can use their story as inspiration later down the line for a friend or a family or a loved one that's also, maybe not going through the best moment, because we all have our highs and lows, and that's
absolutely
of being
absolutely
together.
And so what would be your biggest advice to someone who's currently going through a hard time, no matter the age, just going through a hard time? It's, it's 2021, we have renewed hope, but there's still a long road ahead to the new normal.
I know. Staying positive, finding things that, that you enjoy, maybe starting some new things. I think the biggest advice I would have, I guess, would say, what grounds you? What is it? Like I said, for me, it's my faith and my family. I love my job. I love what I do, but at the core of me, what keeps me going all the time is my faith and my family. So, I would say, what is that when you're in that tough place? How can we get to see the light at the end of the tunnel? What do you need to? What are the good things? Like my kids, do you write? Do you draw? Do you keep a journal? Is it listening to music? Like, what gets you out of that place to say, I gotta keep going every day? Every day we have to push on because life isn't fair. And like my husband, I had a lot of fears, right? Post-traumatic after losing 2 siblings. And then as a mom, sometimes I'm panicked with my kids. And, my husband reminds me that they're a gift and they're ours for now. And, we can't in this world, we can't prevent tragedy. We can't prevent anything really from happening. So it's loving in the moment, enjoying everything while we can. And trying not to be negative and not to live fearful. I really try to live in the moment, to enjoy the times that I have, because we do know how quick it could be gone. But for people struggling, I say, continue to stay positive. This is, there is a solution to every problem. And if you can't find it, then reach out for somebody and they will help you find it.
Yeah, we really are all in this together. And I think that, things may not be normal now, but there will be a new sense of normality. And it's about,
there will. This can't be like this forever.
No way.
It too shall pass.
Exactly.
Well, Sarah of Two Brothers Memorial Fund, I encourage everyone to check out your website. It's really
Thank you.
incredible, all that you're doing. And
Thank
also
you.
thank you, as a guidance counselor, thank you for being there for your students and all the kids watching. I bet they can reach out to you, but we encourage you guys to reach out to your own guidance counselor and just schedule a
Great.
time to chat.